And the Lord said to me at that time, what are you doing with what I have given you now? And it kind of threw me. I approached Jayne initially and I said to her, I'm thinking about starting a network, what do you think? And we brainstormed over a meal. At that time, I'm friends with Anya's husband, Jayne's husband. So for me, I know these ladies, but they're not my friends. But each one of them took to the proposition with so much grace and so much excitement. And when we first met, I mean, it was just beautiful.
Every single one of us came into this with the seriousness that this is a divine calling. This is not for self-gratification. We all are good, financially, spiritually, emotionally, but we want to be better. When you're around successful people, you can be around successful people and still feel like the outsider. You never truly belong. It takes 40 generations, us to be amongst black counterparts. And I just thought that was insane. First ever event, elevating it. And your mum came up to me and she basically was just like, in my day, if I had this, what I would have been able to do.
I was thinking, you don't understand what we're doing. And the thing is, we have the source that we have, the strength that we have of God. People admire what we're doing and they agree that we need this, but they want to see what we're going to do first.
Were you advised by anyone that that's not necessarily what corporate environments people want either if you're going to bring something like this to the world?
People sound tough.
Today I have a special treat. I feel special. You know, I've got 4 amazing ladies from the Brown Skin Girls Network, and I've been looking forward to this conversation because I have been, I've been watching from afar the amazing work that you have all been doing. And obviously we had Jayne on here earlier, and I was like, we need to get the ladies in, and she's like, yeah, we need to make it work. But you have crazy schedules. All 4 of you trying to get you all together. Like it's been hard, but we finally were able to do it. So it's an absolute pleasure to be able to welcome Jayne, Nkiru, and Anya to Everyday Leadership. How are you all doing?
Great. Yeah, really good.
So you're not getting the nervous. Yeah, it's okay, we're all right. They don't know what's coming. So they get kind of calming down for a bit. And you know what? I was like, should I do a proper full-on intro? But I was like, I'm not going to do you justice. And there are things, I was saying to you before we started, Jay, there are things that Google doesn't capture. And I want to know and find out what's important to you that people know about you when they talk about you, when they mention your name, when people talk about your rooms. So I'm going to start with you. How would you introduce yourself? And don't be shy. I want the receipts, I want the accolades.
So introduce myself or the...
You, yourself. Hey, focus on you. Don't worry about the rest. Focus on you.
Okay, so I am Anya. I am a quarter of the Brown Skin Girls Network. We are an amazing sisterhood here to empower and inspire Black women to upskill them in their personal and professional lives. I oversee education for a local authority. I am a UN delegate for the Permanent Forum for People of African Descent. I run an educational consultancy company which specializes in educational reform. I'm a mother to 3 amazing children. Oh, one's not a child, one's an adult, 2 children, a wife. Yeah, there's probably a lot more, but we'll go into that a bit later.
So not doing a lot. Cool. Jayne?
Hey, I'm Jayne, also part of this sisterhood, and I run a number of businesses spanning from the healthcare, property investment and development, recently an alcohol and beverage company as well. I'm also a UN delegate for the Women's Forum, so that's based on the gender advocacy work I do. I have a charity which is based in Ghana where we provide clean water, and we also have a medical facility out there as well, providing free healthcare. And then, what else? You sit on a few boards in terms of the non-profit sector. I'm also a mother to 3 children, wife, and I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Nkiru. I'm a solicitor. I'm practicing for over now 13 years. The director and co-founder of Titan Solicitors, which is a London-based law firm. I'm also 1/4 of this wonderful sisterhood as well. Into a little bit of property, buy-to-let properties, property investment actually in East Africa, West Africa, and in the United Kingdom as well. Mother to 2 boys, aged 6 and 3. So I'm raising them at the moment as well as juggling so many different things. And then quite recently I wrote a book called The Message, which is a motivational guide in criminal law for beginners, and it's just really to inspire law students who are thinking about entering into the profession. Thank you. And just to give them practical insights really into that. And yeah, that's it me in terms of my professional. I'm also, sporty. I like to go out to restaurants and have a good time, and I really enjoy my friends and family as well.
Yeah, I'm Jayne John Lewis, the one of the 4 and one of the 2. But yeah, so my background stems, professional background from medical technology. I'm a STEM ambassador, so always encouraging younger people that are not aware of the different kind of careers or, vocations that they can go into within the STEM environment. So technology, mathematics, science, what you can do in that region or that area that's applicable to you. So I currently oversee surgical robotics programs for Essex, Kent and Sussex. So some people are like, what is that? I set up surgical programs using robots. So I train surgeons to use robots to do surgery to enable people to actually get better outcomes. And the issue is that actually people don't know that it's available to them through an NHS, in particular our community. So God forbid you'll never need it, but if you are, or you have a family member that, would require these procedures, it is through an NHS and it is accessible to our community. But nobody knows about it unless I tell them, because unfortunately I am one of the only Black people in the company. So I'm telling our community now, I'm using your platform, so thank you so much. If you ever do need it and you're ever in that position, go and seek out or ask your doctors about surgical robotics, because it is available to you. Anyway, so outside of that, I'm also a property investor and also passionate about managing pain management. So I've got pain management clinics around London. So I run that through injection clinics, partnering with some of my business partners who are surgeons. And then, I'm also a mother. And I've got an amazing husband. So been with for over 20 years, phenomenal partner in crime and in good. But yeah, and then outside of that, I'm a doctoral engineer. So I'm completing my doctorate whilst juggling all this other stuff. For my sins, I have no idea why. But yeah, passionate around artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we're looking at driving waste prevention using inventory management systems so that we can look at reallocating medical supplies to our people back home, reducing the amount of waste, reducing the amount of just dead tools that aren't usable that end up on landfill. So yeah, we're just trying to create opportunities for our community.
I like that. Sorry, every time I hear that, I'm like...
But honestly, listening to you all 4 talk, it's part of the reason why I was like, I wasn't going to go into a bio about you, or 1, it's great to hear your voice, but 2, I was tired just researching all 4 of you. You do a lot. And the obvious question that comes to mind is, with everything that you are juggling, so parents, husbands, wives, families, businesses, multiple businesses, both international and domestic, and other side hustles, why create a brown-skilled girl network? Why? Where you got time to do it?
You know what? I think it is for that reason. Because a lot of the time, I know for myself in particular, obviously a lot of this I was doing before I joined the Brown Skin Girls Network, but it was being able to see women that are also doing as much as me. A lot of the time I used to kind of feel like not a victim, but why are you doing this to yourself? This isn't normal, it's not possible. And then you meet women that are doing as much, and in a lot of cases, a lot more than what you are doing. And it just helps you to continue. It gives you that momentum. And that's part of the reason for me anyway, why the Brown Skin Girls is really, really important, to be able to see women in spaces that you would love to be in or are in, but don't feel like you can do it. But being able to see somebody else achieving this, it makes it all the more palatable, and it gives you that motivation to think, yeah, okay, you know what, I've got this. Jayne's got this. Nix has this. Jayne has this. I can do this. So yeah, for me, that's part of the reason why I got into it, even though with my heavy load, and also it is an act of service. And when you get into these positions, it's really important that you're able to give back.
Yeah.
And for me, if I think back to the teenage girl that I was, I would have loved to have had a woman that I could look up to, like myself or like these ladies, to show me and share their blueprints for success. And so it's kind of a rite of passage that we do this, that we run this journey.
Absolutely.
Well answered.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it? So like, how did it come about? Like, talk to me.
No, exactly what Anya said, really. It's an act of service. And okay, I'll give you the real...
Oh, I want a real answer.
Yeah. Okay, so I think in 2022, I was praying and I wanted financial abundance. So that was my prayer at the time.
Amen.
That is it. So as you do, I was waiting for the Holy Spirit to minister a word to me in regards to my prayer. And the Lord said to me at that time, what are you doing with what I have given you now? And it kind of threw me, because in that moment I was like, I do a lot, I help, don't I? But it took me a couple of weeks actually to think about, am I doing a lot? Do I really help? Is there more I could be doing? And I realized actually there is more I can do. So how can I help more people? And then the idea came about setting up a network. At that time, I realized that although I was very comfortable in my position, I still wanted to achieve more. But in order to achieve more, sometimes you need to be encouraged. And I think Anya touched on that as well. So I thought, okay, let me see whether, in the community, how I can be encouraged in order to do more. And I have mentors, but again, biding for their time, but was somewhat difficult. And I approached Jayne initially and I said to her, I'm thinking about starting a network. What do you think? And we brainstormed over a meal. I still remember it. Yeah, it's like, oh, that was when she brought me that show. Got the name, Brown Girls Network. What do you heard of it? I was like, Elevate, Inspire. I was just throwing words around. Yeah, she's like, who else should we invite? And then she was like, I know 2 women. I'm going to ask them. And then as you called me, she's like, they said yes. They said yes. She was so excited. I was so. Do you know why I was so excited? Because it was an idea in which where I was like, okay, this is the idea, Lord. What should I do with it? The name came straight away. Yeah. I contacted my brother, who's a web designer, and I said, is this available? Find out for me. If it is, purchase the domain. He said, yeah, it's available. I said, oh my God, how can the Brown Skin Girls network be available? And then, okay, so who then do I bring into this? And the Lord ministered to me who to call. And I was like, okay. And the reason why Jayne's right in saying that, I was so excited because this was an idea and now I'm being told what to do. Yeah. So I am now following the direction. And when I'm hearing yes, I'm like, oh my God, it's working. I'm like, what the idea that you put into my mind is actually now I can see it coming to life. And it was just such a wonderful feeling. And that's how it started. So I think initially it was Sisterhood. I wanted a network where we all come together, and it was very specific. I mean, I've got girlfriends and they're wonderful, but the ladies in which I now know why we were all 4 put together. But at that time, I was like, okay, I'll ask. And I was very cautious about my pitching as well, because I'm friends with Anya's husband. I'm friends with Jayne's husband. I know Jayne. So for me, again, I know these ladies, but they're not my friends. So I don't know whether they will be able to understand where I'm coming from or the type of person I am and why I would bring this to them. And for whatever reason, the way God does things is his way, and he knows exactly why he's doing what he's doing. But each one of them took to the proposition with so much grace and so much excitement. And when we first met, I mean, one of the ladies can talk about our first meeting, and it beautiful. It was absolutely a blessed moment to be a part of and witness. And then I said to myself, okay, there's so many other things that God has ministered to me in regards to this network, which I've shared with the ladies throughout the course of the year. But that was why we started. That's how it came all about. And that's how we're here today.
So was it an immediate yes from all three of you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, to be fair, the way she pitched it wasn't what we're doing now. It's important. It's so honestly.
So you trying to say that she bamboozled you?
She was like, you know, if you want to get together with some ladies, we go for lunch. I was like, I like lunch. Have some drinks and we talk. I was like, I drink. So I was like, yeah, why not? But it was very much, for me personally, a time where it was like an answered prayer, because I was going through a lot at work at the time, and I just left my corporate job to start my business, and it was a very isolating time. And like Nick said, I've got loads of girlfriends, but it wasn't that type of sisterhood I was looking for. I needed a shift, you know, someone completely different who was really going to push me and elevate me to that next season of my life. So, you know, my prayer was very specific when I was asking God to connect me with like-minded women. Because as I say, I wasn't yearning for friendship. I was really focused on the fact that I want to go on an assignment. I'm on an assignment here, not only to develop myself and change my mindset and broaden my capacity, but also for me to impact women and help them and transform them. Because I had so many women asking me questions. How did you get where you are? How did you become this way? How do you do it all? And a lot of the time it's grace of God, but I'm hanging on by a thread, but you don't know, you know, that's how it be. But you just know that other women are going through that, but we've all got this facade and no one's really sharing the real. So I just wanted women that I could just be very, very open with, very, very candid with, and just share my ambitions, you know, things that were my wildest dreams, like, you know, I have ambitions of doing a doctorate. Jayne's doing one. I want to write a book one day. Nick's written one. You know, I want to do public speaking. Anya does that on a daily. So it's all these things that God showed me. What you are going to become is reflected in these women around you. And sometimes it's not always, okay, since I met these ladies, I've had, you know, they've given me 6-figure contracts. It's nothing about that. It's more that development in yourself, like, you know that you can be more because you've seen it now. It doesn't feel impossible, because if I feel overwhelmed, guess what? These women feel overwhelmed, but they still show up to meetings, still going to work, still doing what's required. All of these different elements that they're juggling so seamlessly that it looks easy, even though it's not, you know? So it was very much, wow, I'm blown away. I've always been around strong, impactful women my whole life. My mother's one, my sisters are one, my best friends are women like that. But this is different in the sense that I feel like we're moving mountains, let's be honest. Yeah. I don't want to toot my home. Let me toot it. You know, literally what we do is so sacrificial. Yeah. Taking time away from our families, the hours we spend. And a lot of the times, I mean, the first year of the BSGN, I'm talking about every single day we spoke. And for hours.
What?
Every single day. Praise God, I'm not divorced. Honestly, I know our husband's great. Yeah. Because that's what it was. Every single one of us came into this with the seriousness that this is a divine calling. Yeah. This is not for self-gratification at all. We all are good, financially, spiritually, emotionally. We're all good, but we want to be better. We want to be the best, you know, in terms of who we can be. We know we can be more, but together we can. We're a powerhouse, and we can push each other to reach those levels that we didn't even think was possible.
Wow, that's powerful to hear. It's powerful and encouraging to hear, because I think there are times when people say you get to a certain point and it's very much like, you know, I just want to relax. I just want to take it easy. And it seems like you have all kind of flipped the script. Picking up on your point, the point that you made, Jayne, I guess, listen to you say like that. Is there a difference between having people around you who believe in you and encourage you, as opposed to just having people around you who are also successful?
Yeah.
I was saying the other day that one thing we don't do well in our community a lot of the time is cheerlead and champion each other. And then sometimes it pits us, naturally, in this society, in this country in particular, we're pitted against each other. So it's always a competitive nature. So if someone's doing well, that's fantastic. Okay, I need to do better. But why can't you just be happy for someone? And then actually, you can approach them if that's something you want to do. And that's essentially what we're doing. We're so accessible. We want to be accessible. We want to be that representation. We don't want someone to come along and say, oh, I want to do this thing, but I don't know how. You have to go now do your research. We're trying to create blueprints here so our community can develop faster. We're seeing our non-Black counterparts that, unfortunately, they get steps ahead of us. They get handed a lot of the information. There's absolutely no reason why we can't share the information, the experiences, the challenges, the solutions.
They collaborate.
And they collaborate. And that's how they move faster. And that's essentially what we want to do with our sisterhood. We want to collaborate. We see other people doing things successfully. We're like, we need to partner with you. We don't see you as competition. We see you as partners.
Yeah.
We know we can do so much more if we do it together. We can go so much further if we do it together. So, yeah.
So how do you begin to change people's minds and mentality around seeing people as collaborators as opposed to working together? You see all four of you there, like, oh wow, all of you are into property. Like, ooh, like there must be some competition there. Like even the way that you all seem to really blend well together is something that is very, very inspiring. It's something that you see. So even before you even step into what the network does, your relationships with each other in itself is a model. So how do you actually get people to start to look and think that way, which is not the norm of exactly what you said right now?
I think what you touched on, championing each other, actually demonstrating that you want these people to win. I want you to stand side by side with me. I don't want you to be my competition. Because when we do build our luxury island, I don't want to look to the left, look to the right and see people that look like Bill Gates. I want to see people that look like me. I want to enjoy with my people. I want to hear my music. I want to eat my food. I don't want to be eating things because the audience is not my audience.
Yeah,
you know?
because even when you're around, touching your point you said earlier, when you're around successful people versus those that actually believe in you can be around successful people and still feel like the outsider.
Yes.
Even though you're successful yourself. You never truly belong. And that was my experience when I was in the paper world. No matter how high flying you are, you're not one of them.
Yes.
And they don't see you as one of them. So sometimes you think the way to take back your power is to collaborate rather than compete. And you can amplify your voice that much more if you just join forces. There is no competition because we're all individuals and collectively we all bring something very, very, very sweet to the stew. Individually, we're all, as I said before, we're all powerhouses, but collectively we're doing something transformative. And that's what our community needs to recognize, that working in silo and being pitted against each other is the downfall of our people.
Yeah. 100%.
It is, and it continuously happens all the time. And we're seeing other cultures come and surpass us.
Yeah. Because they collaborate.
Crabs in the bucket. That crabs in the
Let the ladder down.
Let the ladder down. Help somebody up.
And the other thing, we had a meeting with a good friend who spoke about, or who mentored us kind of on our business and just really thinking about how we're going to move our business forward. And one of the things he said to me was, or to us, was think about the business and the vision and the goal as your baby. And this is all of our baby. We all, therefore, whenever we're thinking about making decisions for the Brown Skin Girls Network, we think about that as the baby. And if we take that a little step further and think about other organisations, a lot of us have shared issues, shared challenges, other organisations. But if we come together and think of it as this is our common goal, we all tend to share a common goal, especially as brown skin women and other organisations who want to benefit brown skin women. It's really important that we're coming together and we're moving this snowball together and building a lot faster. If we're doing it in isolation, it becomes difficult. Pushing that snowball up the hill is the resistance is harder. And so a lot of the time we think, okay, no, but I want to get this ball to the top. No, if we're coming together, we're moving this ball together, we're going to get it to the top a lot faster.
So, in addition to that as well, where you just mentioned, what else can we do? And I think knowledge is key. A lot of people in our community don't understand how far back we are. And I think we had a meeting with someone, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He mentioned about the generations of our community how far behind it would take us. And he said something crazy. I don't remember the number. It's like in the 40. It'd take 40 generations, us to be on the counterparts. And I just thought that was insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy if we don't start acting now and we don't start doing more. And that's not to say that, we see them non-black counterparts as competition. I'm for the betterment of anybody that wants to educate and elevate themselves, in all honesty, but there's no reason why our community can't do that as well. And that's why it's important that we start pouring into each other, pouring into ourselves. Because it's only good. I mean, right now it's just consumerism. So if we just consume and burn out, we're never going to get ahead. Not even going to, get in an equal standing. So, I think it's important.
Yeah, we owe it to generations to come, our children now, ourselves now, our sisters now, to create opportunities and open that door and just, level the playing field as well.
So all that sounds good. So if I then go back and say, reality is what you're saying and how you're looking at things is not normal. When you've gone out into the market and you've brought this to life, what has been the reception and feedback from both, I'm going to call it the culture and the corporates? Because those are two different worlds.
This is a man asking a question. No.
I mean, the culture, that when we go out and they hear the name Brown Skin Girls Network, and then we get a lot of attraction. We get a lot of women coming to us saying, where have you been?
We needed this.
We needed this. Yeah. And that's really, really inviting, and it's really, really helpful to us, encouraging for us as well. And we know you needed it. Because we needed it.
It was the first ever event that we done, elevating it. And your mum came up to me and she basically was just like, out there, in my day, if I had this, what I would have been able to do. She was just like, we were so isolated, and in particular in our communities, our traditional communities from back home. They come here, they're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
I don't know the direction they're going in is definitely going to pay off, but they're going to take that gamble.
Yeah.
Whereas if they had a community that could demonstrate, actually, this might be the outcome for you if you do this, and also to feel empowered. Yeah. I want to execute this, but I don't have any support. I don't have any backing. If I had a sisterhood, what could I achieve? And to hear that from your mum and other more senior women, I think for me, that's a lot of what to do with my life.
Yeah. Big motivation. And very humbling.
Yeah.
And God would use us as vessels to do that, to be honest with you.
Who am I that God has called us to do this?
Before I ask you asked the corporate question, I'm curious, when you thought about doing this, did anyone else ever say to you, especially like, this has been done before, people tried this before, is that ever successful?
You with Jayne had to be 5 times more.
Yeah. There's an amazing organisation called 5 Times More, and they're bringing awareness to Black women in maternity, post-maternity, and their experiences that have been really negative. And they're called 5 Times More because they've actually found statistics to demonstrate that Black women are 5 times more likely to die after pregnancy. Yeah. I think it's disgusting. But they're trying to change that. And like we said, we've talked about, the history, but they're doing that now. They recognise there's a need for it. And we recognise there's a need for it from us. So even if other organisations are doing it, they might be doing it in a way, but that's not to say that there's gaps that need to be filled. That if we collaborate and work together, we're all supporting. And I think there was that analogy when we first started. We said, we want to create an umbrella. Yeah. We want to create, I just vision this umbrella where we're an organisation where we're just championing different Black organisations, and we're all just working towards the same end goal. And then when you see like the governments or you see the higher ups, they'll take us seriously because we're in an organised fashion where we're working towards that goal. Essentially like soldiers. We're soldiers for the kingdom. Well, all the right to you. For me, that's my first and foremost.
Yeah.
But outside of that, we need to be organised. And that's why a lot of people don't take us seriously outside of our community. So
yeah, I remember as well when we first started that when we were having meetings with corporate, this isn't answering your corporate question, by the way, but when we were having meetings with different organisations, some had said to us, okay, there have been organisations like this before, but they tend to die out within a year. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well.
Was that a challenge?
You know what? I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
When you're like hearing that, you're like, okay.
I didn't see it as a challenge, but it was definitely sad, and
You were surprised though, were you?
I wasn't surprised, but I was thinking, you don't understand what we're doing. And the thing is, we have the source that we have and the strength that we have of God and the amount of things that we're doing as well. Because I think a lot of other organizations, this is their sole baby, but ours fits in with everything else. I don't think it would necessarily work if we want the women that we are and had the businesses that we do, because that lends its hand into understanding those dynamics and how we can move forwards and what the challenges and what the pitfalls are. But that 1 year, it also made me think, like, that's another reason why we need to come together, because it's really important that there are organizations that are growing, that have this mission, that are able to continue and to have that longevity. And it's difficult. It's difficult. And if we're not coming together, it's going to be even more difficult for these organizations.
I think it's interesting that point you made and the comment that was made to you, because it's again part of the system that these big corporates and these other institutions are perpetuating. Black organizations aren't organized and they fizzle out. We're gonna get it. That's what they want us to be saying and doing. You know, what have they done since they formed, and you know, what impact have they really made? And then the first question they ask you around your stats, you know, because that's how they define whether you're credible or not. But before we go deeper into the corporate question, even within our community, there's some people that will give you a side eye. Yeah. You know, we haven't been embraced by everybody. Let's just be real. Some people think it's a bit of a scam, or it's a
Scam?
Well, yeah, in a sense of another networking for you to collect some money to go and have nice dinners with, whatever. Baby, we all But it's more about, you know, it's just that whole thing. It's just like when you go to, and I don't want to generalize things, but when you go to an African party, for example, or you go to a gathering of Black people, instead of us smiling, engaging with one another, everyone's kind of like reserved.
Just looking, just observing.
Observing, you know. And that's how it's been, you know, people admire what we're doing and they agree that we need this, but they want to see what we're going to do first before they'll jump.
That, yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people maybe following is funny. We don't go anywhere without people saying, yeah, I've heard of you. I've heard of you.
You know, actually, I was at my son's summer fair the other day, and a Black man approached me, and he was like, do you do a podcast? And I was like, I actually had to stop and think, actually. He was like, yeah, I'm going to get my wife listens to you. But I don't think his wife was Black.
Yeah,
Essentially wasn't. Yeah, but she was telling him. So then she messaged me. I was like, oh yeah, I tell my husband about your podcast all the time. But then it's like, think about the reach. It's not just for our community.
yeah.
So even though we might not necessarily get the support internally from our community, there are people that know that it's needed. And there's corporate organizations that know that it's needed. And we have experienced that. Now to touch on your corporate.
Let's go.
You have experienced that in the sense that in the corporate space, a lot of our non-Black counterparts are scared. They don't know how to approach the topic. And they almost want somebody to, it's interesting. You can advocate there. Yeah, literally just like, okay, steer us in the right direction. How do we communicate this to all people so they receive it well? And you're thinking, well, they speak the same language, but you don't. So don't ever deceive yourself in the corporate space in thinking that you speak the same language as them, because they see it. And if you don't see it, that's where the problem lies. So actually, we realize that our service isn't so much just to our community, but it's also so that we can build that bridge.
Yeah.
And actually, our statement is building bridges, break barriers. And that's what we drive to do in all services that we apply.
And that's why we see it as a win when we get to partner with big corporates. Because essentially that's bridging the gap. And that's also educating them.
Yeah.
Because there's a lack of knowledge with the corporates on how to support Black women. Yes, our community in general, but we are for Black women because, you know, they are the only minority group that face a double jeopardy that we do. So when we see the corporates, it's always, we don't have the budget. And we know from being in corporate that anything that doesn't generate income, they don't have budget for. And anything that they don't understand the importance of, they don't have a budget for. So it's really for us to educate them, but also approach the subject and keep on being resilient and relentless and persevere regardless of the barriers that we're facing, because we know what the end goal is.
Yeah. And representation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not by any stretch of the imagination that we're all here together. And when we go into the corporate environment and when we're speaking to our community, we are representing on both sides. So how we're able to bring new events and new opportunities to our community is by being able to represent ourselves in a way in which is really received well within the corporate industry and environment, and then translated back to our community again, where they feel that we're trusted and that we're accepted by them as well. And for me in particular, it's really important, and I think the ladies share this, that our examples are of an excellent standard. So when we present ourselves in pitching meetings, when we put together proposals, it's to a certain standard. We're all educated women as well. We've worked in industries for a long period of time. We're all professional women as well. So I think that it's a mixture between the two, and it's going to take some time. But we know that, though. We know that that we are only at the beginning, but we have a vision, we have a goal, and we definitely have the right source, the right backing behind us. So we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. So yeah, bring it on.
We're here to stay and not going anywhere. What are some of the things that you've been able to accomplish over the last year? By the time this comes out, this will be past the 1 year anniversary. So it's definitely, you've beaten that stereotype. But what are some of the things that you've been able to do over the last period? You know what? Let me do this. One each from one. Someone pick one. You go first then.
Yeah, can I pick my favourite?
You pick your favourite.
Okay, my favourite was, so we hold obviously in-person events, and my favourite in-person event that we did was our affirmations workshop. Reason being, I was not a mood board, vision board, affirmations kind of person. I am now transformed. Yeah. my vision board that we created on that day, and the speaker that we had, and just the camaraderie, the sisterhood, the food also was amazing. But I now have my vision board, and I'm actually able to tick off nearly everything on that board and say that I've accomplished it. So yeah, the affirmations workshop, which we will be doing again as well. Yeah. So yeah, I am truly converted, and I would definitely.
So events, we hold events.
Yeah, sorry, I went a long way down. I know, I'm sorry, yeah, events is one of the things that we do. It was amazing. It's been life changing. Yeah, life changing. So I couldn't understand it. It's been life changing. Yeah, very much.
And businesses that have been formed through this network.
Yeah.
I mean, at another event, the Black Women in Business brunch.
Yeah.
You know, ladies got together and they formed a business within our setting to go out and do something completely different. So that's been
The impact that we make is, I'm surprised. I'm not going to lie to you. There's been times I'm like, why am I doing this? And then we get feedback from our audience, and they're like, oh God, because of this, I've been able to go and buy land in Ghana. Because of this, I've been able to start this business. And I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, but I was going anywhere.
Filled my confidence.
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
And one of the things we do is education. So we build things like financial literacy. We're very passionate about elevating, inspiring people, but they need that knowledge. So we provide those platforms so that they can educate themselves. We had a phenomenal speaker through our webinar on building your brand, on financial literacy with property investing with Sarah.
Yeah.
No. And so many people are like, can I have the recording? Can I have more of this? When is the next one? So you see that there is a need for it. You see that it needs to be more accessible. And we just want to be that one-stop shop where actually if they want to elevate themselves, they know that they're going to come here and get financial literacy. They're going to get mindset shift. They're going to get confidence building. They're going to understand how to apply a lot of skills that they ordinarily wouldn't have been able to do or obtain if they didn't attend one of our workshops, one of our mentorship programs, one-to-one mentoring, just exposure. We promote a lot of businesses and organizations as well.
Yeah, I think the collaboration for me.
Yeah, the Black Business Show collaboration.
7 different businesses within the last 12 months we've collaborated with. Wow. And that's
Majority Black led.
Yeah. And that's been fantastic. Yeah, that's the and cancer. Yeah.
When you think about the vision that you had and all you've accomplished this year, are you surprised?
I'm going to say that I don't know personally about the other ladies, but I didn't necessarily have a big vision about this organization. I think I definitely went into it just open-minded. So I was like, I'm spirit-led. Everything we're going to do, I know is for a purpose. I know where I want it to go. I know how I want it to impact people positively, but I didn't exactly see a vision of, oh, this is going to go in this direction. And I think all of us were quite just open-minded, open-hearted. But I am honestly surprised when I look back where we started, and in 12 months, what we've been able to achieve, I think is phenomenal. And I think even before, I was like, oh, I'm doing this one. And then I was like, we start reading off, we've done this, and I'm like, oh, God, why did I do this? No wonder my hair's falling out.
No, we don't want that. Literally, Julia. My hair's not falling out. Thank you.
I'd have to say the opposite, actually. I
was about to say, you're the visionary, so if you came and told me that you have the vision, I'm like, oh, we've talked about it.
It's a very clear vision, and now I'm just seeing the building blocks, actually. So I had, the vision was there. I know exactly, I've always said to the ladies, this is going to be big, it's well needed. And not only that, it's engineered by the Most High. So I have every confidence in the network and where it's going to go. So my vision for the network, 100%. But you know when you like say you want to be or you want to do something and then it actually happens, you're almost like, okay, this is actually happening. You know I had the vision, I know I could see it, but now to actually live it and see it every day pan out. We went to, because we got the event in August, and we went to the conference, we went to the venue. And your reaction, and it was like, oh my God, like, this is fantastic, this is huge, this is amazing, I can't, but and I was like, yeah, because we're living in this moment now, we're smelling, touching, feeling, tasting everything that God has said, this is going to happen,
Yeah, for me it was slightly different in a way. It was quite similar to what Jayne was saying, in that, not that I didn't have any expectations, but what I did know is that I know that whatever Nikki puts her hand to, do you know what I mean? So when she asked me, do I want to be part of the Brown Skin Girls Network, it was a yes. I didn't know I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, but I knew that it was going to be something amazing. I didn't know where it was going to go though. So similar to yourself, very, very open. And the fact that obviously the way in which it was pitched as well, and knowing that God was behind the essence of it, and it was very much like Jayne was saying, in line with my prayers. I knew that it would be phenomenal. I just didn't know how.
Yeah, and that's why I think I cried in our first meeting, because I was, oh my God, you're so good. You're so wonderful. Because
it was like a therapy session. Yeah, it was.
Had their own person, because he knows, he sees and hears all things. He knows. So when he say no, this person, I'm like, are you sure? Like, what's happening? But prayer points at that time, these were things in which where you were yearning for, and then
you didn't know.
And I did like no idea. And then hearing so many similarities between the ladies, it was like, so that's like, I was so overjoyed that we'd all come together, and it was just such a wonderful, magical moment. I will never ever forget that moment.
Because we had a similarity. These were just like, wow. Yeah. And I went home was telling my daughter all about Jayne. She just kept hearing your name. But yeah, definitely, I'm in all of these ladies.
Same.
I think for me as well, it's just, life is just so much nicer when you're doing it with sisters.
Yeah.
Everything that we're achieving is 10 times more because you're sharing it with these ladies. And I'm very much, I work with my family and I work with my best friends. So for me, I'm very used to working with people and building something together with somebody. I'm not really into taking all the glory myself. I don't have any interest in being like in the limelight or anything like that. I really want to do something that I'm serving a purpose. I want to feel like God is very pleased with me. That's why I do a lot of what I do. So to do this work with these ladies, I just feel like, well done, Jayne. It's not always easy. I can't lie and say I enjoy meeting every evening at 8 p.m. or whatever the case may be. But we do it. And when we attend events, and for me, it's the human connection, the personal connection. And I'm very much about that. I can spend 2 minutes with somebody and just really feel that I've connected with them based on the conversation we've had.
And just that sharing of pain points, knowledge, motivation, inspiration, and just feeling, wow, you're just in this position to make someone feel better about themselves or even give someone hope. That is an incredible feeling. Yeah.
You've mentioned faith a number of times. Is that at the core of what this is all about? And were you advised by anyone that that's not necessarily what corporate environments people want either, if you're going to bring something like this to the world?
Who wants to answer?
Yeah, we had
So many conversations.
we had conversations about that at the beginning. Definitely, that how do we incorporate this, and because one of the, as we said, the pinnacle reason for us doing this was our faith, and faith has to be at the core of everything we do, and we were worried about how do we actually navigate that and how do we do that. And I think I remember speaking to the ladies one time, something about what my pastor told me when it comes to evangelizing. And when you are evangelizing, sometimes it doesn't have to be in the very obvious upfront way. But what will happen is your character. Yeah, your character doesn't lie. Your character and what you're doing for people, your kindness, people will be like, and how much you are actually doing. People will be like, how do you do that? And then I can turn around and say, by the grace of God.
Yeah.
And people want to get to know my source of strength or our source of strength from that. So we have had to think about and really mold the way we do. But when we have an opportunity and when the opportunity is right, we can only attribute the success, the glory, the strength of what we're doing and of us individually too.
And it comes naturally as well for us to do so. But we have been told to
Tone it down.
Yeah, tone it down.
But I think as well, it's about wanting to be inclusive. Like we came up with this network because we wanted to it to be a safe space for all Black women.
Yeah.
So in saying that, we appreciate that people are on different, journeys, and not everyone who doesn't believe in the same faith we believe in isn't excluded.
Yeah.
So you have to be quite mindful of that. But at the same time, we're not hiding the fact that every single one of us are believers and it's the core of what we are. But we just know that we don't want to exclude everyone and not everyone is the same as us. And I think that's very important when you have a business. My principal business is called Trinity Healthcare, but I have every type of race working. And we show love and kindness through the way we interact and how we treat our clients. But not everybody are we preaching scripture to. So it's very important to be mindful of all those things.
And for me, I think one of the most important things was authenticity. Because we're now on a platform where people are seeing what we're doing and hearing what we're doing. I was very much, when I started, it wasn't an element of being shy, it's just I was very private. So I wouldn't put my personal self, my face. Social media wasn't really a natural thing for me. So I was like, I'm not going to force myself to be out.
That surprised me. You did my personal.
But no, equally, I think a lot of us actually was, and especially in particular, we were like, I just don't do social media, and if I ever did post it, being in my stories. But then I was like, okay, we need to navigate, and that was one of the things that we were all challenged about.
And you know what's weird about that? I would say maybe a year before we started and we got together, I was the exact same. And then it was my daughter who spoke to me. She was like, Mom, you need to get out there more on social media and share your story and change lives. So it was like, God was preparing me for that year prior to meeting you guys. And then when it came to this, because I was doing all these videos and whatnot, kind of left it alone now because I've got this. But when I look back, it felt like preparation.
Yeah.
Even learning how to use Canva and all that stuff, that was preparation for this.
It's funny you say that. Even working with you ladies and the fact that you're all very different in character, I realized that years before working with you, God was doing a good work in me, because even the way we agree and disagree respectfully, it is a very different approach. It's a very different approach. So, if you're used to being someone in a position of leadership and you've got significant control of a lot of things, but now we're in a democracy here. Everything has to be voted on, and it's so different.
I think all the ladies probably agree with me that we're not used to being challenged. Just like,
100%.
because all of us are in Tunisia, we're like, no, I don't really do that. I'm like, we don't do
That's been one of my challenges.
Yeah, because I'm curious about because in
it's
fact,
been a challenge.
last week I was doing an exercise with a group of leaders, and we had men and women, and it had about probably 12 women working together on this thing called a helium stick, and then the men were on that side, and they're all like senior leaders, and it literally was, here you go, figure this out, and because they're from different companies, they struggled because they're all in positions of power, and just learning to be like, slow down, let someone hold it. In fact, they were like, who's the leader? I was like, who's the leader? Well, this woman's like, yep. And she's like, 10 minutes later, I'm out. They're not listening to me. No one's doing anything. So it was hours. We were just in stitches, just watching and observing. So I'm thinking about something like that, and I'm thinking about all four of you. Like I said, you're all high-flying women doing your own thing, and you've all come together. How have you managed to agree, disagree, or move forward?
And we tend to fall back to Nick as well.
Okay.
But I think behind it as well, what we do have is actually genuine friendship.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do separate the two, but then we also have to recognize, okay, there's a way in which we need to speak to each other as professional women. And again, that idea of, okay, does this service the baby? Take your emotions out. Anya, remove your emotions from the situation and think about the benefit of what we all want, and we know our vision for it. But it took a while to get there naturally.
We're still learning.
Yeah, we're still learning. But yeah, it's definitely been
And so, Charles, we had that conversation. I came to you, and because initially, an example, Jayne had an idea, and I was like, no, I don't think we should go with that. And then in the end, I was like, oh, actually, maybe we should. We did it. It was fantastic. And I came back to her later, and I said, oh. And then I said to her, I'm so glad we did that actually, and I'm so glad that you made that suggestion. And she goes, well, I'm really glad that you listened actually, because it's teamwork, that element. And this is a trust, do you know what I mean? So that trust element in leadership as well. I mean, each and every one of us are very much capable. So having to let go.
That's not easy.
No, it's not. But that's the building of the trust element, and that's why the sisterhood is so important, and the friendship, because it goes hand in hand. We are showcasing sisterhood. I mean, that's the core of what our business is about. And that's what separates us from other organizations that are doing something similar. We're showing you, this is how we're modeling ourselves on, this is how we should be represented, going out there, positive, raw energy of real, authentic sisterhood. That is what you're going to get when you come to the Brown Skin Girls Network. And so what Black women are like, is that is the truth. You laugh. So this is that is the truth. Yeah, that is what it is. We are naturally like that. So let's now start showing up as we are, and reverse that narrative that we're difficult, we're strong, we're, back chatting, all of those things. Yeah, and that's not at all. No, we're lovely, warm, inviting, passionate.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's just not taking things first. Yeah, you have to develop a thick skin and also understand. It's the humility as well.
Yes, humility.
Humility.
It's a good word to have, but it's not to live.
It's not easy.
To live, that's a whole different level.
It's not easy, but when someone, Nick brought the example, and I really love working with her, because when she's wrong, she'll own up to it and say, I'm wrong. I said this, but actually, and that's what I respect about working with these women. We all say, I didn't get that right. I dropped the ball here. I haven't been able to do this, but my sister's going to back me up, and she's going to cover me. Yeah. And that is what a sisterhood is, We're not trying to pit each other against each other. We're not pointing blame. We're not, casting each other aspersions or pulling each other down. We're trying to move this movement forward for the betterment of our sisters.
Yeah.
And it's been a process. I think my problem is I'm the youngest of the group, so I'm learning so much from these ladies. That word humility, that word silence. And I always need to speak up. my big sisters are talking, I don't always have to enter. I can learn more by listening rather than speaking. So you probably noticed that I'm talking. Like, yeah, no, it's amazing. Like, it's literally been, and we're all like just growing.
Yeah, there's so much growth, hasn't there?
So much growth, so much. It's beautiful.
Why is it that you said a year ago for you, but generally speaking, if I was to, and did look up your profiles, for the amount of things that you do, you have all been very, very hidden.
Good question, because I was alluding to the fact that social media just wasn't a thing for me. I didn't have the time for it, and I didn't really, it wasn't always the most positive light. I didn't feel like I needed it until God put me in this position, and then He's showing me that's a tool. I want your voice, I want the things that you do, I want your skills, I want your abilities, everything I've poured into you. I want you to share it with the world. Show for the goodness and the glory of God. And I always used to basically, I wanted to start this brand called For His Glory, He Wrote My Story. But how am I going to be sharing it with people if I'm staying away from social media? So I felt like He pushed me, literally was like, yeah, there you go. For all of us. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
All of us. Yeah.
For me, it was foreign territory because I run businesses where I don't need to put anything on social media. You know, my biggest clients are not going to be anywhere near social media. And so for me, it was just very, very foreign to do business in this way. But then I like being challenged and I like feeling uncomfortable because that's the only way I grow. And, you know, you picked up on a point earlier saying, you know, when you're stagnant, and that is one thing I detest. I detest to be stagnant. So I just felt, you know, Jayne, things are going really well with your businesses. And then what? What are you going to do to grow and to challenge yourself and for there to be a shift internally as well as outwardly? So, this network has shown me so much. I didn't know a lot of the, you know, tools to make social media content. I didn't know a lot about, you know, pitching certain things. All of these things I never had to do in my business. So this organization has really forced me to level up on a lot of things. To be honest,
marketing managers,
You do anything your business requires in order for it to be successful. And that's been
sometimes been the floor. All of me,
whatever's required.
I guess someone will look at you and think, oh, because of what you all four do, you've got this big, massive team behind you who's holding things down. I mean, working with 27 businesses, pitching, put up the events, admin, organizing, all of that that's like multiple full-time roles. On top of the multiple full-time roles you already have. So let's break that down. How big is the team?
We've got an administrator. Yeah, we do now have an administrator. He's amazing.
He's amazing.
Now you do. You do.
Maybe 8 months in.
Yeah, and I remember this is one of the things you listen to actually. I was making a lot of noise. I said, if we don't get an admin, we need an admin, you know, and that's something I brought from my current business is I'm used to working with people. Being a leader doesn't mean we must do everything ourselves because we have day jobs as well and families, our families and ourselves as well to care for. And it was becoming increasingly difficult. As I mentioned before, we're meeting almost every night and the pace of things was just so fast. And I was feeling burnout creeping up on my shoulders again. And I was like, no, I need to speak up and we need an admin. Unfortunately,
this guy.
we've also had people along the way as well that have really stepped up and helped us. So we've had Courtney, who's she was our social media manager. She taught us a lot about social media management. We also had Anya, who put together a marketing strategy for us. So we brought in women along the way who are also part of the network as well in the journey. They're part of the journey, they're part of the network.
And they've been a big volunteer that want to contribute or want to innovate themselves or, you know, work experience, but always on board to helping people that want to, you know, volunteer or participate or support the cause. It might just be for an odd event or, you know, for an odd meeting, but if they want to be involved, and we do get a lot of people saying, we have spaces, we want you to use it, we want to collaborate, we want to. So they've been really supportive, especially our corporate supporters, NatWest and London Metropolitan Police, someone's done it up, but you know,
And our husbands as well.
Oh, our husbands.
They've been a big support at the events, moving tables, carrying this, doing that. And just behind the scenes as well. I know they get annoyed with our Saturday morning meetings, but the grace that they have shown us and the love that they have for everybody within the organisation as well has just really helped us. And the fact that they love what we're doing at the same time. Like my husband, like, I think she's our number one fan of our podcast. I know that he will phone every one of the ladies after to give feedback and what he thinks we should watch. Yeah, so we have, and our families, our children, our parents, we have good support systems.
Yeah, even
And it's our kids as well. It's your sister.
They support our events. My sister must start decorating Lizzie. She gives support all the time.
You talked about your husbands and their role in all of this. And I'm curious, actually, what's the growth and trajectory that you've all made as women together, working together, that has actually gone back into your relationship?
That's a good question. You should rule this answer.
But you know what? I do remember a conversation that Nix mentioned one time. She went and asked all the husbands.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I did.
Asking us to go on this journey with her.
Yeah.
What did they say?
Yeah, the 100%. They were like, it's so funny for Anya and Jayne's husband in particular. They were like, oh, Nick, they're just like you. Just like you. So it's like, you'll work great. You're like really, really happy. Not so much now. But at the time, they were like, yeah, no, why not? This sounds fantastic. You've got our blessing. And I thought that was very important to do. Because at the beginning, I said I am friends with both Anya and Jayne's husbands first. So me now encroaching on their relationship, because I know there's going to be times in which, and quite often he would,
I'm not there for 30. I'm not there for 30 years, so
But you know what? I don't think it would have worked if he didn't know them. But I always say that I don't know how it would have worked in my relationship because of the time that I give up. But because obviously my husband and Nick have such a great friendship. It's like, okay, well, you can't say no, that I can't do this, or you understand your friends, do you know what I mean? And you understand me, it makes it so much easier, because I know sometimes with my work schedule, it's like, oh, but you're doing a lot, let's go and do something else, and it's like, this is work. But when it comes to BSGN, he gets it, and I do definitely, it's a special level of grace, and I definitely think that comes a lot from yourself as well.
But I think it's the integrity that she carries.
Yeah.
Because I know that my husband knows anything she's involved in, it's not going to be wasting time, wasting money, or, doing something that I wouldn't be represented in the best possible way. So I know that for him to be on board with it is because Nick is involved and he knows her and he knows about her integrity. So, yeah, that's fun to hear.
It's always us.
And there's other positives that is brought into our relationships as well, because we get to meet all together with our partners as well. We had a lovely games night, which was fun. After our first event, we just chilled at the hotel and we're just talking and eating, and it's nice. It brings another dynamic.
I remember the only gripe that has been there for example, is why aren't I more involved? It's like, hold on, this, why not I do this? I think there's been times of days been messaging Chris, you know they're out, they're going for dinner now. They're still out there, and he's like, what?
I don't know, message Nick, what time are you guys coming back?
Release our wives.
There's been times where I've been close, like when we started the organization and just had a baby. Yeah. And I was at the point where everything was different for me. I wasn't at work full time at the time, but then when I went back to work, that transition was a lot, because my job in itself is like
demanding.
So much. Yeah, it's a crazy job. But then there were times I'm like, Chris, I don't know if I can do this. Why am I doing this again? He's literally just been championing me the whole way. He's like, you can't not do this. Like, you've been good. Honestly, without Chris, I wouldn't. This wouldn't be a force. And I'll be honest with you guys. There's been times and I'm just breaking. Like, I just can't do this. And he's literally just been like, this has caught you. Like, you have no option. You have to keep going. And trust me, it will pay off. Like, God is not going to set you up. He's going to lift you up.
Yeah, we've got a lot to thank him for. Might would have been a scandal. BSGN comes through.
No, I think it's important because, funny enough, it's very ironically, just I was coming down today this morning with something I put up, and I was talking about the power of relationships and how a lot of times I literally had a conversation with someone 2 weeks ago, and a lot of times people are like, oh, how do you succeed in business? I'm like, or in entrepreneurship. I was like, for me, it's always a faith, and secondly, it's always my wife. And if I don't have that back in there, it's never going to work out because what you're going to step into is already tough.
Yeah.
And then you now have that on top of that to deal with when you get home. So it doesn't matter whether your husband or your wife, having the relationship on point, having that alignment is really, really important. And hearing you talk about that role that I guess your partners play in that to pick you up, to support you, to play their role and actually get involved is really amazing to hear. And it's also one of the things when you talk about modeling that I think you don't necessarily think about, but I think it's quite important. Because there are a lot of media and podcasts and stuff like that, and just talking about the treacherousness of relationships. You don't hear that many talking about, actually, no, these are the successful relationships with successful, high-powered women who are doing their thing and doing it really, really well. And they're both working together, and they both have families, and both do. And so even seeing that in itself is something that you all actually represent as part of the network, even though it's not something you put out there, but something that's important to highlight as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's very important. Yeah.
I completely agree with you because, in particular, in our community, it's only publicised when something negative is happening with the couple. But often we don't see as much representation of what a sustainable Black family looks like, where the man is, the head of the family and the woman is playing her position in, we're the leaders, as we guys.
I ain't said a word. I'm like, I want just. I'm talking, and I was like, I ain't saying nothing.
What can we do?
You twist that head how you want it to go. Be okay.
That's what I meant to say. It is like we said. I mean, we appreciate obviously your recommendation to that, but yeah, it's so important to see that representation in our community.
Yeah.
Black strong families. Yeah. Whether or not you are together, you can still play your position, play your role, be responsible, be accountable. Because ultimately, you have to think about the people that come in after you, the children that you've created that didn't choose to be it. And we're seeing the result of broken families, and we need to change that. So ultimately, everything we're doing is to drive positive change within our community. So whether it's in the household, whether it's in businesses, whether it's in the mindset, we want to be involved in that. We want to drive that.
What does support look like? I'm going to come at it from two angles. Support from, I'm a man, so how does a man support a women's network? And then how do communities and corporations also support?
Not just support, like finances.
But then we can get somebody else on social media.
If that's what it is, that's what it is. Like, this is not a time to be shy and closed mouths don't get fed. So if you want to talk your talk it.
No, yes. No. I'll be honest, because like we said, it's us for doing a lot of what we're doing, and we could do so much more. But to be able to do so much more, we do need to be able to pay a project officer or pay a social media manager right from the beginning of the business. Obviously, most startups, we're investing our own, and it's really worked out. But we really want to grow this, and we want people to collaborate, and whether that is collaborate through your time or collaborate through your finances, they're both as important for us to be able to do this job.
Or your networks. Collaborate through your networks. Because we see men as our allies, as you mentioned. Some of our big corporate partners, NatWest, a lot of them have been men who come to us. There's been men, and then also, as we mentioned, our admin, and we know that you're very well connected, so to be fair, I mean, the power of a conversation, a single conversation, can do so much. So we know that we have a fantastic idea. We've now, after our first year, built a very, very good infrastructure and a good dynamic between the four of us. We all know what our strengths are, and we all know where we're going in terms of the vision. It's now crystal clear. But yes, definitely, we are not saying we're a women's network only for women. We appreciate and understand the influence that the men have as our counterparts. You know, as equal power plays on this journey.
Yeah.
So
There's women who say it all the time, and going back to your previous questions about the family, we've seen our men grafting, and we've been watching them graft like endlessly. We want to stand side by side with them.
100%.
We want to literally what was that, Woman King? There's no reason why we can't be side by side with our men. For example, there was a battle, and it was us versus our non-black counterparts. We want to be valued. We want to add value to our community. So we don't want our men to have to shoulder everything. But what they could probably do to contribute to that is understand that this isn't just a woman's network.
Yeah.
It's building our community.
Yeah.
And it's a building block to that narrative, but we need your support. And in the past, it hasn't always been so positive that the black man naturally champions the black woman.
No.
But we want to change that. We want to start demonstrating and representing that actually they can work collaboratively, they can build that unit together, and then we can do so much more. And it's not until we build those bridges and we build those bonds where we look strong to our opposition, so they know actually these people aren't to be tested with. There's actually challenges here. There's actually a force coming from this organization because our men are championing us. Our men are speaking to the things that we are going to do, not just what we have done, but what we are going to do. They're visionaries for us because actually they're out there doing the fighting. So they need to feed back to us, like, this is what your community needs. And that's what our husbands have been doing. They've been pouring into this network silently.
Yeah.
Because they're not the ones at the forefront getting any of the accolade or anything, but they're pouring into it. You guys need to do this. We need to see this.
Or giving us a different perspective.
Giving us a different perspective.
Yeah. Even with Namdi as well. So like Jayne was saying, our admin, he's a guy, and he sometimes will stop our meeting and be like, hold on, have you thought about it this way? I love when he does that.
Shout to them, D.
So patient as well. Just having that alternative view and that male's perspective is really important for women, and we have to recognize that as a women's network. We can't be a women's network without the influence and the support and the knowledge of men. It just won't work. We're here to benefit our whole community.
So what is that vision, that long-term vision? What is it that you want to see? About celebrate a year, let's roll it out 5 years from now, where you want to be?
I suppose for our network to be known worldwide. I think that's really, really important for us because although we know there's a need here in the United Kingdom, we also know that there's a need everywhere. We have touched bases in different continents while we've been growing this year. So we want to be able to expand that and make sure that our membership is something that is known in all worldwide, basically. So that's the first thing, awareness. So we want black women to know that there is a network that's out there, a real sisterhood that you can connect with, join network events, webinars, attend our mentorship sessions, which are online, and that you can access our resources as and when you need it. So that's the first thing.
To me, personally, it's going to sound crazy, but when I did my 10-year plan, when I was about 19, at the bottom of it was save the world. And then I thought, save the black world. Honestly, I swear to God, I'll look for where I wrote that. And then when BSGN came, it's like, and I love me and man do report. Honestly, I do personally believe that we have been segregated into our different countries and our races for a reason, and I do feel it's to pour back into that thing. And other races are doing that, and they're doing it successfully. But we do need to start doing that. I think we aren't racist enough, in all honesty. We need to do a lot more for ourselves. And we're starting to see that. We're starting to see that actually you can pour in yourselves and not be penalised for it. So, you know what, let's go full blast. But to my point is, when I put that, save the black world, I'm now starting to see the different building blocks that are connecting to it. So ultimately for this network, what I would love to see in the future is how we pour into the less privileged. And I've always been of the notion that, I mean, I've said it a million times, I don't really care enough about design, and don't say, oh, you can't. On live, the materialism. For those, they're not my drivers. I like nice things. I like a good quality life. But if I can't buy 2 of them that can equate to feeding 100 people on that day, I'm not interested. So I want to see our network become financially sustainable, so it's not being personally financed, so that we can then start pouring into our community for the less advantaged, whether it's in this country, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in the Caribbean. I just need our community to start receiving. And ultimately, the root is there are people out there that can't afford to eat, especially children. They don't get to choose. No one gets to choose. And we met a lady earlier today that said, oh, if there was such thing as reincarnation, imagine you were in that position. You could not eat. You could not clothe yourself. You would think back and say, oh, that person's eating well. Why can't they help me? So when we're in that position now, why can't we do that for them? So before I go and buy my next Chanel bag, I'm going to say to myself, actually, how many mouths have I fed? So for me, I want to start seeing the sustainability financially in the organizations, Black organizations. One, to build awareness, 100%, because until you do that, you're not going to get people on board to help you execute that long-term vision.
Yeah.
But 2, so they understand the purpose of where this is going. So they're driven, so they understand, actually, there's a bigger call in here. So, but that's just my personal.
Okay.
Not to put it on or pressure anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, for me, touching on what these ladies have said, I would love for BSGN to be able to equip women with the tools to really live a full and abundant life. So I'm talking about women who aren't putting themselves in a box. Forget about society putting me in your box. We've been around that our whole lives, but women themselves, Black women themselves, are putting themselves in a box because they don't see that things are possible. And I'm very much of the mindset of, why can't I have it all? Having it all is relative to every individual.
Yeah.
You know, like Jayne is saying, I don't want a Hermes bag,
No, I didn't say that.
Having it all is relative. For me, it's about doing purpose-driven work, being a blessing, but also living an abundant life. And that comes in different forms. And I want every woman to be able to do that through this network. I want to be able to connect the dots for women so they can walk into a corporate, they can set up the business without struggling and thinking, how can I do this? They can feed their families. We can build schools, we can build hospitals. You know, a woman might be in the UK and be like, look, I want to relocate. I can connect to BSGN in America or in any other continent in the world and take my bag and go. That's how impactful and resourceful I want the network to be. I don't want it to be, okay, we're just a group of lovely Black women winning in our own individuality. I want us to be a community, a real sisterhood, not just by the phrase, but to actually pick up the phone and say, look, and I've always said representation is so important. It is. It really, 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 really is. But for me, access is even more important. I want to see this woman doing amazing things. She's a trailblazer, she's this, and she's that. But I want to be able to have access to her. How did you do it, sis? Where did you go? Who did you speak to? What courses did you do? You know, what do I need to put on my application to get this funding? I don't just want to hear all these buzzwords. Sisterhood, community, my tribe, What is it doing for the women? You know, what doors is it opening? What opportunities is it creating? How many lives are we improving because of this network? That's what matters to me.
And for me, maybe similar to, actually, it kind of picks on all the points. But obviously, I'm from a world of education. I'm very data driven. I want to see changes in the data. So right now, the data for the UK, 1 in 4 Black women feel like they're not offered the same chances as their white counterparts. I would love to be able to see in 5 years' time the data on a micro and macro level shift. So whether it's within somebody that comes to us and tells us, okay, now within my organisation, we have these Black women leading, or we have more Black women are getting grants than they did 5 years ago. And I want to be part of that movement to be able to see that change in the data, in the numbers, and also in the quantitative data as well, the people's experiences. And that's what you were drawing to and alluding to, the women's experiences. I want women to be able to say that life is good. I feel like I can break down that, I don't even have to break down the door anymore. The door opens.
Yeah, exactly.
I just open the door and I just walk through, you know, that, and I want to be part of of that movement. This isn't a feminist movement at all, and I think we've touched on that, and that we understand that our men are very much integral to this movement. But I do want to see Black women in spaces and afforded the opportunities and having the access to what they don't have currently at this time. What is it? 5 years.
2029.
Education. 2029 and 2030 is the big agenda in lots of different spaces. So I would love to be able to see the data reflected in more positive stats for Black women.
I'm loving the ambition, and I think it was good to hear, because when you then look back, you're like 5 years from now, I actually believe you do more than that, because the way that you're all moving forward, and I think the more people know about the network. Support the network, champion the network, and even start to get it into, like, I think right now I see you partner with the organizations, but I actually see you going into organizations and having networks within networks. And I think that will be a massive way just to even just grow and grow and grow the work that you are doing. So there are a lot of big things that I can see ahead for all of you. And also, as you were talking today, the first thing that came to my head is like, when you talk about the Bible, is like, your gift to make room for you. It's something that I think you'll live in and you'll pour it out. And the fact that you walked in obedience and God's just opening doors for you is like, it's just this small, don't worry, there's so much more to come. But it's also around, I guess, expanding your capacity to do it. Because with this is just one of the things that you all do. And there's so many other areas that I know you want to make sure that you are in those spaces to do it and do well. Because one of the things that I know is important to all of you is also excellence. But it's honestly just hearing just a little bit about your journey, and there's so much more we could have gone into if we had a little more time. But it's been impactful. It's been inspiring. And I'm going to ask you. I'm still going to ask you anyway. There's one question I always ask on every single podcast, which is, how do you define leadership? So I want to hear that from each and every one of you. How do you define leadership?
In one word?
Doesn't have to be one word. You don't use one word anyway, so I'm not gonna do that to you. Use as many words as you want. Explain it in your own definition.
This way, I don't know. So I'll just first. Okay, for me, from the back. So I define it from the back. I think in order to be a good leader, I've understood that I need to be able to play the lowest position so that I can relate to every single member in my team and then be able to delegate correctly. So, yeah, I think that's really how I would sum it up for me. So it would be from the back. And I say that mainly because I've worked for people who don't actually understand what I'm doing. And then they make orders and tell me what to do with no real understanding of what it takes to do what I'm doing. And to me, that seems very poor management. So I've always understood, if I'm asking you to do something, it's because I've done it before, personally, and I know it can be done. And if you need me to give you, for example, training or direction, I can do that as your leader. But don't tell me it can't be done, because I know I've done it and so on. So for me, it's always been from the back.
Next to age, I don't know.
It's fine. Yeah, you're next.
We're refusing.
For me, leadership, I would have to say servanthood. So ultimately, I feel that we've all been given a role on this earth and we have to steward our gifts. And for me, leadership is understanding that the people that work with you are all part of the bigger purpose that you are trying to fulfill. And that means being delicate with people's destinies as well. You can't joke with it. So the words you use, how you train, how you equip, how you build their confidence, all of those different things for me is servanthood. And it's also identifying that I might have someone on the team who's even better than me. I love it. Rather than being intimidated by that, you actually have to encourage it and really push the people that are in your team to be high performing, even if it means cutting you out of the equation. So you don't have to have the spotlight. You don't have to be the best at everything, but it's amplifying the strengths of all those people around you. So yeah, I would say that.
Okay, leadership for me is about direction, integrity, and understanding.
direction in that you are the person at the front of this troop and you are taking them to their end destination, and you have to set that vision. Understanding comes in terms of understanding your team. So understanding the strengths, the weaknesses, and of yourself to be able to maneuver to get to that direction. And within that, integrity, because every leader has to be values and morals driven, even though obviously certain times we're going to have to make hard decisions. But I think if you're leading or directing anybody, you have to maintain and uphold integrity for everybody, because people are going to be relying on you. This is one of the greatest gifts to be able to have, to be a leader, but it's probably the biggest responsibility that you hold.
Yeah.
You asking me? I think I'll echo everything that the ladies have said. But one of the most important things to me for leadership is being able to create other leaders. I think for me in that position, if I've been afforded that position to be a leader, whoever's watching me, I need to ensure that I've upheld a standard to which I know the ladies or the people that come in behind me are going to be able to uphold as well. So the most important thing is authenticity, because if I want them to replicate what I've done, why am I not giving them the whole ingredients? The stew's not going to taste the same. So I think being authentic, ensuring that they have everything they need in order to replicate and become leaders would be my duty as a leader. I've always said this notion where it's about being able to see something, then do it, then teach it. So when you become a leader, I want you to see one of the things I'm doing, do one of the things I'm doing, and then be able to teach it. And for me, when you're able to do that thing, ride that strategy, you'll then be able to attain that position of being a leader.
Guys dropping gems. Okay, you know. One of the things I think I've heard all the way throughout, I think I want to end with this, has been around impact and influence. And I'm curious, if there was one person that you could point to who has been impactful and influential in your journey, who would that be?
So many to me. But my mum, I think we'd all say our mums is to a certain point as well, because we have, mentioned that before. Mentors, I've had some amazing mentors over the years. People that have really poured life into me. And that's why the network is so important, actually, because it's that moment where you feel, I could be doing more, should I be doing more? And then someone comes and breathes new life into you. And you're like, oh my God, yes, I didn't even think it was possible. And here I am. So yes, I can do it. So one person, I'm going to stick with my mum, mainly because she's always been my foundation in everything I do. She's a big fan of mine. She's always championing and cheering me on. And she's my spiritual mentor as well. So my strength comes from the Lord, and therefore whenever I am weak in strength, I go to resources where I can pull strength from, and she's the first person that will be able to do that for me, and that lines me back into where I'm meant to be in order for me to fulfill purpose.
I would say, other than God, my dad, although he doesn't know it. I'll always talk about my dad. We haven't had the best relationship growing up. He doesn't know anything about organisation, in all honesty, but he's always just inspired me. He's built me strong, I think, and I have that resilience in not really caring too much about external factors or negative negative feedback that's going to impact me emotionally and prevent me from continuing on what God's called me to do or fulfilling my purpose. There's been plenty of times where I felt like, people don't really see me or what I'm doing, or, don't hear me or don't want to hear me. But he's taught me that it doesn't matter. People don't need to hear you for you to make an impact. People don't need to see what you're doing for you to continue going. You still have your 2 legs, your 2 arms, your 2 eyes. So keep going, keep fulfilling your purpose. And my dad does that. He does so much work silently that people will have no clue. He will be the corper that people will just be, oh, you've fallen from grace. He hasn't fallen from grace in the slightest. It's just that he doesn't profess, he doesn't need to proclaim the things that he's doing. So he does things in such a humble way. And I think, for me, I'm not the loudest person to shout, doing this, I'm doing that. And I think it's because my dad's just taught me it doesn't matter what anybody else is thoughts are about you, you could still continue to fulfill your purpose. So I don't know, I think you just built a thick skin. So I'd say it's been impactful, just remembering, in despite of anybody else, you still have everything you need in order to achieve. I think, yeah, because it gave me nothing. So it was very impressed.
I'll be that journey, but always want to make it proud. Until today, I still haven't done it. My dad is mine with the Vincent and I try not. So yeah.
Okay, for me, it's my daughter, my eldest child. She has the biggest impact on me. My other children impact me. Yes, you do. But this one in particular, had her when I was really young. And I think similar to what Jayne was saying in terms of leadership, for me, everything I do to show my children that it's possible. And in particular, her as a young Black woman. So she spurs me on. She's also a big champion of mine. She listens to the podcast. She reflects. She tells me things that I can really learn from as well. She inspires me. And I want to be able to give her really strong building blocks, a really strong foundation. And so I do this to make sure that she knows that this is a cheat. It's making me emotional. Sorry. So I'm mixing up my words, but yeah, she is my reason.
For me, definitely, I would have to say, we spoke about this in a recent podcast topic, actually. Definitely my mum, she gave me the blueprint in terms of my work ethic, my ability to give, my ability to serve others, and just how to multitask, really. My mum showed me all of that. And to be present for your children, your husband, and your friends. And then my children, because when I think about how hard I work, it's because I'm trying to make them comfortable. I'm trying to show them that there's more than what you're learning in school that Black people can have and what Black people can do. There's just no limit to what you can achieve and the impact you can make in this world. But another thing I was going to say is that I actually get inspired by so many different people I meet along my journey. I can meet from my team to someone I meet on the train, or like the lady you spoke to today on the lift coming up. I can meet somebody, and I'm very much like a sponge. I always try and take the good out of people. So when I see them, I just want to absorb whatever it is they're teaching or the aura, whatever it is, and I could just be inspired by anyone who's sharing their journey or having a particular anointing or grace or a smile, whatever it is. I'm inspired by different things because I know people are walking around and they're covering a lot and they're shielding a lot and they're holding a lot, but they still have a way of being kind, and still have a way of giving back, and still have a way of showing up and taking up space, and that inspires me. So as much as the people in my life that I'm close to that inspire me, everyone I meet, or not everyone I meet, but a lot of people I meet along my journey have inspired me as well.
Thank you all for being inspiration. All four of you, honestly speaking, let's listen to your journey and the things that you hold and the things that you put out that everyone sees and are part of, but the things that you don't necessarily put out, but people feel the impact. I actually think sometimes the intangible is powerful more than tangible. And the representation that you all have of sisterhood, of learning and growing together and still growing together in that challenges, but just showcasing that actually it is possible. It's possible to have people come together, have a focus, have a mission, and execute that to the highest. And there's levels to that, but you keep on aspiring to get to those levels. So thank you for sharing your journey. I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. Honestly, that was a no-brainer. That was an absolutely no-brainer. And when it comes to even just the support, obviously all your information is going to be available. But I think this is one of the things where it's like people just need to get behind it. Just get behind it, both male, females, corporates, and just look at ways where we can just keep on helping you to give you both the funding, but other areas, other resources, whether that's around even open up doors, open up opportunities, providing people who just want to just come in and actually get involved. It doesn't matter what that looks like, but if you don't ask, you don't get. So that's a lot of things that we need to do as a community and people listening to this that I want. And that's why I really wanted to come on, like people to know more about who you are, what you do, and the impact that you're making. So thank you all very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
We are the Brown Skin Girls Network.